Hello, man. Hello, man. Nobody's in right now, but I didn't schedule this. Hello, man. There we go. Oh, let me put this back up, move this over, check my light, move over to the center. Move over to the center a little bit here, and hope everybody's okay today. Mgtows, go your own way. Go your own way. I could use the Mgtow cross in here on my shirt. I should get a T-shirt that has the Mgtow cross like this. I could probably get it made up really cheap. I should. If there's probably somebody in Mgtow that would make them up, that would be great. I could probably look around and see who makes T-shirts for Mgtow and see if he'll make me up a golden cross one with a Mgtow black T-shirt. That's pretty much all I wear anyways, black and gray. Gray because who is it? Aldous Huxley, with the separation of when Aldous Huxley and Brave New World, they all wore different color shirts to indicate what they were. So I wear gray. I know. I don't even know what that means. What did the gray shirt mean in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World? I'll have to look that up. Maybe I'll look it up while I'm talking and everything. And basically, I'm just rambling on because nobody's in and I didn't schedule this. So, hello, Chewy. How are you today? It's the almighty Chewbacca now. Chew. I like it. I like it, Chewy. The almighty Chewy. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, so I just came on. I was going to go to sleep, and then I realized that I can't sleep. I got Dougie back in outside. He was doing much better today. I gave him his big hug and a bowl of food, and he was out there barking at whatever he perceives as reality now. I don't know what he perceives as reality now. It's hard for me to imagine if I just close my eyes and kind of do that. What kind of life would that be? I don't know. And so I gave him his hugs, and we played for a little bit and let him know that there's another warm human or warm thing on this planet that loves him. And he was being good today. So he's doing a lot better. His infection's all cleared up. And I was glad about that. Yeah, Dougie's doing a lot better, but he is blind. And when I look into those little blind eyes, they get the little whitish pupils. And I looked into his eyes, and I was looking at him this morning, sleeping on his mat. I keep him in the back room now because he has no consonants either. I keep him on the tile, and I bought him a new bed, and I bought those old people blankets that you put down that catch the urine. I bought a bunch of those for Dougie, and those were like $80. It was like, wow, $80 for those. But now he gets those, and I change him out daily, and he likes it. He likes his nice cool area. I didn't know how, but I get my room back now. Dougie used to sleep in my office, so that was his room. Now I get that back, so I scrubbed it down, and I'm going to put this in there and move this. As soon as I get a hand from somebody, I got to get I got to get a workman over here to help me move this desk. It's a big desk and this big, huge dresser over there. And so as soon as one of the boys come around asking to mow the grass or something, and I'll get a workman in here and we can move this stuff into our new what would you call that? I don't know, Mgtow room. And I get this projector working in the back where I can darken out the windows and stuff, and make it look a little more professional. I guess I could do that for everybody, and that's due to the donations that I got from a couple people. I can do these things and buy some new stuff and neat stuff so we can try them out. But thanks for everybody for doing that, and that's about it. I wanted to talk about one of the common things I hear, and having a workman over sometimes is kind of common for me. This this spring, my knees went out on the side when I fell, and I find it hard to mow the grass now. So I called one of the guys in the neighborhood over to mow the grass, and he's a really nice guy and everything. And we were talking, we got to talking, and he said he was telling me how many lawns he mows and what he does. And he says that he goes to work every day and then he comes home and he mows lawns. And I said, oh, that's good. That's an extra way to make money. And he goes, yeah, it's kind of begrudgingly. And I was like, oh yeah. And he says, and then he smiled, and you know what he said after this? He said, and it gets me away from my wife. And that's what this is going to be a while about. He says, I don't go home because I have a wife there. And he says, this gets me away from my wife. And then I thought back on, I thought back when I was married, when I was, and I used to run out of the house and go do jobs and stuff. And I couldn't wait to get away from work. And we often hear the complaint by women, you guys are always at work. Why are we always at work? Because the house is so horrible to go home to, and we really don't want to go home. We don't want to go home to that. Men aren't supposed to be married. We feel tied up. We feel we're inside. We get yelled at all the time too. You know how it is, guys. When you're married, you go home, and the first thing she does is yell at you, shame you. You're a bum. You're not making enough money. I'm doing this. I'm doing that, and you don't want to do that with her. You just want things to be peaceful, like it used to be. When she had a sexy ass body, and and she was nice, and she spent time actually trying to be nice, and. Men don't want to go home. And I hear this from so many men. I've heard this about, oh God, thousands of times in my life. And I hear that when I hang around with the guys at the bar. Why you here? Oh man, I'm here because I'd rather have a few beers after work than go home and listen to my wife yell at me. And it's the I don't want to go home to my wife thing. Why? And then it sums up in my mind. I start framing things, and I start dissecting things, and I start going over, I try to deconstruct what's going on and do that. It's the way I think. And it's just, I know people don't like to hang around with me because I overthink everything. And I think, well, why don't you want to go home? Why do you want to be married if you don't want to go home to your wife? And I can see if, I got 3 kids, they're running around, they're screaming, they're yelling, she hates me. I never get to go into my room and practice guitar, or I never get to go do this. And if it's there, I just begrudgingly eat my dinner and get yelled at. And I don't want to go home to my wife. And I remember doing this when I was a young man. I used to play guitar a lot, and I would leave the house. I'd grab the guitar and leave the house, and I'd go down in the city of Cleveland, and I would just sit there on a corner or something and try to practice my jazz, because I was a jazz musician, and I would fade away into the world. I would just fade away. People walk by, and I never even really noticed them. And I'd make some money doing it and stuff. And they'd throw up a couple bucks, and I appreciated that at the time, because having a wife is expensive. And and then I'd come home, and she would never even know where I was. She'd ask, like, what were you doing? You're out with your girlfriend? And that day it comes down to that. Were you out with your girlfriends, with your whores, with them lesbians you hang around with? No. And I did hang around with lesbians. I liked lesbians when I was younger, because I didn't have to worry about them hitting on me, and I was married, and they drink like men, and and they're fun to be around. If you ever been around a bunch of lesbians when they're drunk, it's just really fun, and they don't hit on you, and we both like the same thing. It's like, and it's so. So what do you at your lesbian whore friends? And they weren't whores; they were just lesbians, and they were cool. But you get shamed, and then it's like, oh, here, and you take the money out of your pocket, throw it on the table, and then her eyes would light up. Oh, you're the best guy in the whole world now. And then it's like, yeah, that's why I don't want to come home. If I'm not bringing money home, then she don't love me. And that's the truth. And I see a lot of these guys running around, and when I hear that, it's disturbing, because it gives so many indicators of what's going on. Why does this guy don't want to go home? Because he's being tortured. He's being abused. He's being mentally abused. But we're not allowed to, shh. We're not allowed to talk about that. We're not allowed to talk about being mentally abused as men. We're being used, and we're being manipulated, and we're being lied to, and it's torture being there. But we're not allowed. Shh. You got to smile and say, "Gee, golly, I'm just having a great time in this marriage," and that's what you're expected to do. It's like going into the store in the morning, and the lady behind the cash register, she goes, "Hi, Joe, how's your day?" And I go, "Hey, my day is fine," even though My day may be sucking. It's something cordial we say, and we lie and we lie and we lie and we do those absurdities as humans. We do all these absurdities. How many of you guys have ever, yeah, how many of you guys have ever just someone ask you how you are, and man, life sucks and things are going wrong, and everything feels like razor blades on your soul. It's like crawling across broken glass, and you just smile. Everything's great. And that's what we do. And I don't know why as humans we do that. I don't know what kind of paradox that's in, but that's what we do. And married men do this too. How's the marriage? Marriage fine. She's dandy. And then next week you're finding out that he don't want to go home. He'd rather go work at night or work two jobs or just pretend like he's doing something and working late at the office becomes the excuse. And we hear this all the time from women. He's always saying he's working late at the office, and it never rings. It never rings to him. Why do you think he's saying he's working late at the office? He may be at the bar. He may be just sitting on a park bench somewhere, eating a peanut butter or jelly sandwich, staring out into the abyss. Because that's better than going home. And why? Why? Because he's getting yelled at all the time, because it's miserable in a marriage, because women have no respect for men. Can you imagine being married to one of these feminists? You hear them all the time. You guys hear them all the time. You guys, we want to chop your wee-wees off. We want to just chop those. And you guys made us pregnant. No accountability for nothing. And you can imagine after you have your first one or two or three children in a marriage, everything is your fault. You made me pregnant. There was no agency in that thing. Like, she didn't open those legs. She didn't make a decision to do that. There was no agency. Somehow you did a Jedi mind trick on her. You Jedi mind tricked at her ass, and them legs just popped right the heck off open. No, that doesn't happen to human beings. When I hear a woman say that and yell at a man about that, you made me pregnant, and it's like, you did this and you did that, and that's the kind of mean-spirited, casual cruelty that we get inside of marriages, and we wonder where this comes from. It comes from social media. It comes from their mothers or sisters. It becomes a social norm for women to say these cruel things to men, these casually cruel things to men, and expect them to be stoic and accept that. Take all that in. Just inhale it like it's refreshing. Take all that in, man. It's like an incense. It's like, no, it's not. Swish that around in your mouth, man. It tastes like open ass and penis. I hate getting yelled at. I hate having things. I don't deal with a lot of women now because I don't like getting yelled at. I don't do those things. I don't yell at other people. I don't sit out there and yell out the window. And there is a crazy lady right around the corner here. She hangs out her window all drunk and she yells at people going by. And I go by up that street a lot because I ride my bike up to the store, and she yells at me, and that's kind of instilled inside of women. And we have to start asking these questions. What is it that makes them yell all the time? What is them that they're so darn hard to come home to? All I want to do is come home, crack a beer, sit down at the couch, maybe look at a few pork chops in the freezer and think, them would look good on the grill, and maybe turn on a baseball game. And that's all men really want. We're easy creatures. It's like my feet hurt. I want to kick those off. I want to take the shoes off. I want to put my fat bloody feet up on a thing because I've been standing on them all day, and it's not, and 6 inches of oil, and that's all I want in life. But we come home and we got to get yelled at. We got to hear that stuff, and then we put our boots back on. We go, oh, I gotta go. There's something to do. There's always something to do. And this is the way marriage goes. And then we get that, I don't want to go home. He's out at the bar. I'm at the bar. You're out at the bar, or we're out somewhere, or maybe just sitting in the park with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, staring off into the middle distance and wondering where the F our lives went. And that's a horrible feeling. And I remember doing that a few times, just walking down to the end of the street, sitting down underneath the jungle gym where the kids are at, and just staring off into the middle distance. And then those blank, and people used to say, you got that blank look in your face, Joe. Is that life worth living? Is that a life worth living? No, that's not a life worth living. And I know that pain. I know that heartache. I know and I sit there and daydream. I would sit there and daydream about adventures, and I would sit there and daydream about like going out with my friends and having a real life. And sometimes I would daydream about having a wife that wasn't yelling at me. And I didn't want to go home. And I couldn't sit there in the park all the time. So I took on common jobs. I'd do electric. I'd put up ceiling fans, and everybody that wants a new ceiling fan, I would put up ceiling fans, put up garage doors, and an electric garage door. I'm really good at it, and I'd wire them up and put them up and hang a few doors, and that's how that begins. That's how men get skills and everything. But it was driven by this thing where I don't want to come home. But that in itself is reciprocal to the problem. We're bringing home more money because we're staying out. We're doing two jobs. We're killing ourselves because I don't want to come home, because that's not a home that I want to be in. That's not a home most men don't want to be in. And they got to think about that. And what is it with these women where they make it so miserable on you that you don't want to come home, that men don't want to get married anymore, that men want to go Mgtow because they just want to sit on their couch and stare off into the middle distance, and that's better than anything they ever had before. Staring off into the middle distance, looking down into my soul and thinking about my stuff is better than anything I've ever had before. And is that the way it's supposed to work on this planet? No, maybe not. Maybe it's supposed to work. We're supposed to be pair bonded. But I don't know, somewhere after the 80s or 70s, women just got a mean streak in them and make it hard for us to even phantom that. Even phantom that kind of really. And I know that kind of thing's attractive. I wanted that before in my life, that white picket fence, that house to come home to. A couple kids running around saying, Daddy, how much they love me. Fall asleep in your arms, reading them a book at night. That stuff's all attractive. But does it really happen that way? Most of us, 90% of us, we see it in Hollywood, the Hollywood movie. We see it in those 50 styles movies with Wally and Cleaver Beaver. Mom comes up and she's just a perfect mom, and she gives you a kiss. Dad's like, howdy ho, guys. And he's goofy and he's smart and he's everything. And they get along and they never fight. And that's what we're supposed to believe in. But when we look at the reality of things, and most of you guys, all you guys, I think, have been in some kind of relationship where you live together, and you told yourself those lies. And when somebody asks, how's the relationship going? You go, it's all happy go lucky, man. I get to hit that. This is the V. I get to hit that V. And that was the only thing about it that was appealing. And women wonder why. Well, that's the only thing about it that's appealing to us. They wonder why. There's no connection. You found out that pair bonding thing where there was supposed to be some magic thread between you and her, and you send signals, and that makes you feel good. You found out that was a lie, and it was just a bunch of little chemicals running around in your head making you delusional. And your IQ had dropped, and you spent a lot of time doing that, and you wasted a lot of time. Now you're behind. I know what it's like being behind in life. I've been behind most of my life. After the divorce, you get more behind. And it builds up, and they'll put you behind. And you're always working in the red. like Bugs Bunny when he pulls his pockets out and there's nothing in there, and you're like, man, I ain't even got enough for a pack of ramen noodles today. I've been working all my life from pillar to post now, and I should have millions of dollars. And where did it all go? Because I was delusional, because I didn't want to, because at that point where I didn't want to go home, I couldn't be honest with myself and say to myself that maybe it would have been, maybe she can go on and do what she wants, and she did, that I should have just sent her packing at that point, and maybe I could have salvaged a little bit of life. And that's a sad thought. And I see this with guys every day. I see this with workmen. I see this with the guy that comes over to help me out. And he smiled. He was like, but I don't have to go home to the wife, he said. He'd rather mow my grass, but I don't have to go home to the wife. And he said that with a smile. And it was sad. It's one of those sad smiles. I thought, oh man, you so need Mgtow. And I want to just throw a blanket over him. If I had a Mgtow blanket, a Mgtow rescue blanket, I just throw it over him and give him a hug and say, man, I know where you're at, and you need Mgtow. You need Mgtow bad. But you can't tell him that, because I'll be like, ah! I can't. I lose the V. Like there's never going to be no other V that comes around. I found out that was a lie too. She told me all my life when I was married that, man, you ain't going to do better than me. Really? 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 I find that to be untrue. I found that to be untrue. And that's what your boss tells you too. You ain't never good. If you're a good worker, if you can look at this in a boss worker relationship too. If you're a good worker, your boss is going to tell you every single day, you ain't never going to find anything better than this, bitch. And he wants you to stay, and he wants you to work hard. And if you believe that, and if you believe those lines, you will stay. Because I ain't never going to have anything better than this in my life. I'm just a poor boy. That's something we got to break free of as men, thinking that we're less. I see the TFLs and the incels, and they're always like got that little bit of doubt underneath. And I see a lot of men, they all got that little bit of doubt underneath. Someone fed them a seed of discontent. Somebody fed them a seed, and it started growing inside of them. It was like a fungus that started growing, and now they can't get rid of it. And it sows, that seed sows a seed of unhappiness and dependence. Way deep down in our soul, we got to find a good fertilizer, a good for that, and just kill it. What do you call that? That prunicide or something, whatever they call that for the grass, where it just kills it. Some Roundup for our soul, so we can kill off all that garbage that people have been feeding us all our lives. And that's Mgtow. Mgtow is like the Roundup of gender dynamics. You just spray a little Mgtow all over you, and all those weeds die. And we're like Mgtow farmers then. It's like, man, I got a vacant farm here. What do I want to grow? What do I want to grow? First, I want to just rip this open and take all that heartache and garbage that people have been throwing at you, that blackness, and just let it dribble out. And then start anew, start something fresh. I'd been there. There was so much deep, dark anger and resentment down in there. You could have shoved a hose down my throat and nothing but black oil would have came out. And we wonder why we look in some of these married men's eyes, and we wonder why they act like they do, and they want to fight all the time. And the only enjoyment they get is fucking with other men. and they want a tournament, and they want the male competition because that's better than going home. Going to work is better than going home. Having 2 jobs is better than going home. And they're screaming for one of us Mgtows to just throw that Mgtow rescue blanket over them and give them a big hug and tell them everything's going to be okay. But you got some things to deal with now because of your bad decisions from the past. And that's the way I was. That's the way I felt. But at least I knew then that there was like-minded men out there. And that's our job here in Mgtow. Go find one of those guys and talk to them. Let them vent. Let them purge. Give him a little red pill and let him purge, because he will. You'll have him every day over drinking beer on your front stoop. And all he'll do is jabber on how much he hates his wife. We looked at the purple pillars this week, and their disdain for us Mgtows and their hate for us Mgtows. And that's all they are, is a hateful group of married men and men that want to be married, that don't understand Mgtow and don't understand the horror of what they want. And they're usually led by a couple married guys that don't understand the horror of what they're going through. Did you see that man's backyard full of those toys? Any decent, respectable man wouldn't give up his backyard for that. He probably gets yelled at all the time for that. Don't move those toys. They're my kids' toys. And you don't have a backyard no more. Blah, 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 blah. Free from the forced taxation of child support when I get then back to the young man of freedom. Yes. Hello, RP. Hello, Mgtow Thread. Thanks for coming around. We're talking about the married guys. We're going to talk about them like dogs today, too. And we're going to talk about them with like a little empathy. With a little empathy, too. Because we could do that as Mgtows. Because we want the married guys to know you don't have to be unhappy. When you say to yourself, I don't want to go home, that tells you got to forge something out of your home that's still left. Or else you ain't going to have nothing, because that ain't your home no more. RP is here. We all love RP. We all love each other. Hello, Sooth. Soothy. Sooth, you changed your name from Soothsayer, didn't you? Yeah, so Soothsayer was from Nietzsche's Soothsayer. I forget what that meant now. And yeah, it was from the blah, 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 blah. Zarathustra. It was Soothsayer. I always wondered what that meant when you had that up there, but now I know. I read that chapter. So hello, Mgtow Thread. Hello, Fetter D. Hello, Almighty Chewbacca. The Almighty Chewbacca. I love the Almighty Chewbacca's name. He changed his name from Chewie or Chewbacca to the Almighty Chewbacca. And it's good to see all you Mgtow men here. Yes, Trav, thanks for the shout out. I love Nietzsche. Yeah, that was Soothsayer, chapter 3 of Zarathustra, when him and Soothsayer were going into the wilderness where they'd find the ugliest man in the world. That is so Mgtow, isn't it? That is so Mgtow when Nietzsche said that, because we're looking for TFLers, we're looking for incels, the men that we want to show them the way home. That's what Nietzsche said. It's Zarathustra's problem to show these men home, because he's the alpha. He's become his god. Hello, Whiskey. Hello, Whiskey. Oh man, so we were talking about the married men, and yeah, I talked to Whiskey about this, about the young man. He said, I don't want to go home to my wife. I want to stay out and work. And he was sweating. And when he said it with a smile, like, you got anything else to do? I thought, what a horrible thing. What a horrible thing these men go through when you don't want to go home no more. You're home. the home you built. But I remember being there. I know we all remember being there. Some point we had a girlfriend or a wife or a significant other. And you're sitting at the bar and you're thinking just one more 22 ouncer. One more 22 ouncer or go home. And then it's like, bartender, give me 122 ouncer and give me a second, because this might be a long night, because I got to convince myself to go home. Been there hundreds and thousands of nights. She's just going to yell at me. I used to change bars. And then she'd find me, and someone would think on me. One of my sissy blue pill friends would think on where I was at, and then she'd call the bar. What are you doing? And then she'd yell at me on the phone. What are you doing? And I hold it about this far, and everybody at the bar would be looking and laughing like Joe's getting tattooed again. That's not the worst I ever seen. I mean, in my bar crawling when I was younger, man, I seen guys' girlfriends come in there and slap them and drag them out of the bar. And he's like kicking and screaming, I don't want to go home because look what I'm going home to. And they never get it. They never get it. Look what you're going home to, buddy. Man, that's a mean, ugly, just vicious, vile person that smacked you in public and is dragging you back to the car and yelling and making a scene. No wonder he doesn't want to go home. I wouldn't want to go home to that vicious, mean, vile person, but that's what women have become. And they don't understand it. There's always some detrimental thing to your character being said. There's always some shaming. There's always little quips. Man, it's like living on the internet. It's like living on. You should think she can say anything she wants. And I'll tell you what, if you've seen that in public, whatever you see out of a person in public, the way they act, they're 10 times worse at home. If you see a woman yelling at a guy in public, if you see her like hit him, and you see, we all see this. If you see him acting an ass, as we say it in Cleveland, stop acting an ass. Stop showing your ass. That's what we say. Stop showing your ass. Stop acting an ass. They're 10 times worse at home. He probably sits there with a blank look on his face. A blank look, like two little dark blank eyes, like a cartoon eyes, just staring off into the middle distance, wishing he was dead, because she's yapping and she's yelling and she's going on, and he can't do enough for her. And that's modern society, and that's the modern women. I don't know if it's the RFA waves or the radiation from the cell phones or something happened. Something happened in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, where they changed, because there's stories. We got stories from the old guys that they didn't used to act like that. There's some story that some old guys were telling us that they didn't used to act like that. So what happened? Was it cell phones? Was it empowerment? Was it feminism? Was it civil rights? Was it the RFA waves? Was it the EMF waves? I was thinking about putting an EMF tent over my bed and seeing how I felt in the morning, or if I get better sleep. Something's wrong with this world. Is it overpopulated? Is it too stifled for them? Don't we fight enough? Not enough entertainment? Does it itch down there all the time? My buddy says, oh, her pee hurts. It must hurt all the time for him to act like that. Yeah, Garchamp says back when I used to live with my ex. I used to say, accept so much overtime only to postpone my return home. Yeah, I thought of a workaholic. Yeah, I thought I was a workaholic too. I used to overtime. You got that? Please give that to me. You know what I got to do? I got to go home to that heathen. She ain't gonna have nothing cooked. She ain't gonna have the house clean. She's been sitting on her fat ass all day yelling at the kids. Somehow that was horrible. Somehow that was better than being in a steel mill. And moved out quickly. Yeah, I wish that men would do that, Garchamp. I wish that women would see that in themselves. When that thing that I don't want to go home to my wife happens, and that's probably 70% of men. All that 72% of men that she's going to file a divorce, that's probably every single one of them because she's making them crazy. She's yelling at him for some imaginary girlfriend, and she's only doing that because she wants to have a boyfriend, because she wants to get out of there herself, because she's thinking, or she already does have a boyfriend. She's just laying pavement before she goes. That's what that's all about. If you ever get yelled at by a woman that you're cheating, you're fooling around, and you're really not, she's just paving the road. Christ. She's paving the road for a lot of things. She's paving the road for your slavery. She's got everything calculated. She's moving the accounts. She's getting a boyfriend. She's spending your money on that hotel bill. And we sit there like a bunch of idiots because we never had Mgtow. Some Mgtow to say, hey, you know what she's doing right now? She's thinking about somebody else. And she ain't the Virgin Madonna. She ain't that Madonna sitting in the abalone shell on your fucking TV. That plastic Madonna, you know, they used to sell them in the abalone shells. She never was. And she's making you miserable and you don't want to go home. You would rather mow every grass in the neighborhood than go home. Matter of fact, you bought a riding mower so you can do it easier. She's paving the road. And that road has a split in it, just like the Mgtow. Go your own way. You better hit that split before she hits it. We try to tell the men, but they reject us. And the purple pillars want to go try that out to see if it's going to work like we said it was going to work. And it will work like we said it was going to work. And women are becoming more and more miserable every day. I do Twitter. I'll admit, I Twittered. I watched the Twitter. Women are miserable. And they're more miserable than they ever been. And like I said, I don't know if it's the EMF waves. I don't know if it's cell phones. I don't know if it's the internet. I don't know if it's because they're so entitled, or if it's feminism, or it's the devil himself, or some mischievous God. But whatever it is, they got to fix themselves. And that's what men are saying nowadays. You women got to fix yourselves. Because there ain't enough duct tape in the world for us to do it for you. Hello, Moogie Iwa. Moogie Iwara L. Hello, Moogie. I'll just call you Moogie. Hello, guys. There ain't enough duct tape in the world to fix that for them. And if we try to fix it for them, it just gets worse for us. And we've been trying to fix that as men's rights. And I used to be a men's rights advocate. All those rallies, getting spit at. All those rallies, taking the verbal abuse. I felt like I was married when I was at those rallies. They're verbally abusing me. They were spitting at me. And I was like, yeah, ain't nothing my ex didn't do 1,000 times. I'm used to it. I want to go to the rallies now, but you know why I want to go to the rallies now. My new Mgtow Now pussy hat. Mgtow Now pussy hat. You can get your Mgtow Now pussy hat with the little pussy ears. You can knit them if you want. That's Mgtow Now. The rally, that big picture that they show all the time with all the pink hats, it's slowly turning. It's going to turn to the Mgtow pussy hats. Get yourself one. See, I'm Mgtow. I'm a male and I want some rights too. First of all, you know what domestic abuse is? When you yell at us 24/7 and we don't want to come home no more. And you got to check yourself. And why is it that Mgtow is growing? Because. It's a simple answer. Why is Mgtow growing? Because. By cause. For a reason. Because the women are horrible nowadays. And I can look at half the men in my neighborhood and see that deep, dark look of anxiety. The big black eyes like in the cartoons, like they're staring off into the middle distance with nothing going on. And the purple pillar guy comes over and he wonders why I say they have reduced IQs. Because there's nothing going on up there. Because they hate life. They hate life. There's so many of them off themselves, work themselves to death. What an awful, awful death working yourself to death is. I almost did that. I remember my last few days of being married, and I collapsed to my knees in a hot steel mill. It was 114 degrees, and I was out of water, and I'd worked 12 hours, and I collapsed to my knees. And I was... 12 hours and 114 degrees. Just please give me some more overtime because I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home. I'd rather die right here on this floor. And that's what you're saying. And most of us say that and do that at one point of our life. We work ourselves 6, 8, 10, 12 years, months to years, not wanting to go home, and then we collapse someday. That's when you find out if they really loved you, if there was this thing called love, because then you find out you're a disposable male when you're laying there in that bed with heart problems. But you worked yourself into a vacation, a 6-month vacation you're not going to get paid for. That's when you'll find out the reality of what you were in. She'll run off with her boy. You were cheating on me. I know you were. That'll be the first words out of her mouth while you're sitting there in the hospital bed, dehydrated, with that blank look on your face. I know that look. You're cheating on me. Because she's paving the road for her boyfriend. If you ain't going to go to work, some other fool will do that for her, for that split V. Because you are the disposable male. But why do we put up with that? Why do we let ourselves be that? In family courts, we have family court judges that sole purpose on this world is to violate 4 of your constitutional rights. And we let it be. And we got these guys running around. They're anti-abortionists because they want to get the woman back into the kitchen. They want to get that back into the kitchen and have that happen. The hypocrisy of that. You know, I am pro-abortion because I want abortion rights too. I want to be able to financially abort. And I'll tell you what, I'll be an anti-abortionist until the the wisdom and knowledge that I want the same thing as them. I wanted choice. I wanted the choice whether I was a father or not. But we don't get that choice. Somehow they get the choice whether they want to be a mother. And that's all it is choice to be a mother or not. They could do that within several laws. They can drop the kid off at the hospital and say, I don't want it. And they'll go, oh, you poor baby. You had a baby. You had the agency to open your legs and invite something in there for sex, for something that felt hedonistically right for a few minutes because you were all strong go girl. And then you drop the baby off at the hospital because you weren't the strong go girl. You're going to torture some poor guy that you know doesn't want to be tortured. Men, all they want is choice too. Some people aren't cut out to be fathers, and I'll say I was never cut out to be a father. I'm a horrible father. I'm a horrible that. Don't call me that. And I didn't want it. I tell you, anybody asked me, I don't want it. No. But I got convinced by a bunch of blue pill idiots that was the way to go. And I suffered so bad for that. Tried to make it work, and it never was going to work because that never works. You want me to support female rights? Support my rights. That's what I tell them every day on Twitter. You want me to support female rights? I'd be happy to support your right to be a strong girl. Bust down that glass ceiling if there is such a thing. We'll make jobs. We'll support you 100%, but support my rights too. If I don't want to be a father, I don't want to be a father. People that don't want to be parents make horrible parents. Boy, is that an astounding fucking prophecy? Am I the first one to say that? People that don't want to be parents make horrible parents, and most men don't want to be fathers. They make horrible parents, and then we get yelled at, you're a horrible dad. Yeah, sure, I said that. I never wanted to be a dad. Of course I'm a horrible dad. I never wanted to be a dad, and that's something you can't fix. And I was never supposed to be one. That's a made-up word by stupid people that do religialistic values. I wanted the right to volunteer. I didn't want to be forced into it by some judge. And that's so hypocritical. The same judge will, oh man, she's strong, go girl. She's gonna go get an abortion and shit. She has right to choose. And then she'll look you straight in your eye and say, you don't have the right to choose, slave. You're my bitch. I'm nobody's bitch. I'm nobody. They should have looked at me and go, no, I shouldn't even say that to that man. Because bad things are going to come my way. All started off that day when I didn't want to go home. And I fought through that. And I see millions of guys out there. They don't want to go home. Because there's some beast there. There's some demon there living in their house that they thought was some beautiful angel. And it turned out to be Satan herself. And all she got is insults and sarcasm and shaming. And that's all she got anymore. Because she's so freaking unhappy. Marriage is a barbaric institution of idiocracy when you stick two people in the same jail together that hate each other. They may have loved each other at one time, but that's just a chemical reaction that happened from the bacteria when you all shared spit with each other. But you look at that succubus thing. Yeah, looks can be deceiving. Yes, they can. That succubus thing. She was all hot looking. But you found out that, man, that makeup comes off and there's a horrible creature underneath that thing. And all she wants to do is kill your soul. Brings back memories, huh, Gar? Yeah. Whew. Man, brings back memories. Woo, that was fun. Hold on, like the hippies used to say. Woo, you're in for one hell of a ride. Hold on. Oh man, that wasn't one hell of a ride. That was one of those horror shows where I just kind of from I think he started on day one. On day one, right after the marriage, right at the honeymoon, she started yelling and she didn't stop for 16 years. Oh man, don't get sperm jacked. Sperms come with little contracts of divorce in them, and little contracts. It's real hard to read, but there are child support contracts in there. I mean, you got to get a microscope out and look at them. Sperm, yeah, there's little contracts tattooed to each one of them, but it's real small print. Don't get sperm jacked. But women will do that nowadays. We hear horrible, awful stories about that. Because you know what that means? That's money. That's 18 years of freedom on your expense. That's being tied to the mast for 18 years. You're a slave. You're going to work on that ship. It's like being shanghaied. You're shanghaied for 18 years. That's all. That's inscription. Sperm jacking is just inscription. But men don't have rights, and we're not allowed to say these things. We're just saying, I don't want to be inscripted. I don't want to be thrown in a galley and made to work for the rest of my life. I want to have a choice whether I wanted to be a father. I want to have the same choices as a female. Because that's the way the law is supposed to work. It's supposed to be all this equality, happy go unicorn bullshit. Flowers and bunnies and shit, where we all have equality except for men. And then we don't talk about it. Shh, hush, hush. You're not allowed to talk about that because we'll shame you. That shame rolls right off my back now. I laugh at him. Is that the stupidest thing you got to say today? That's what I say to him. That's the stupidest thing I heard this week. Because we measure our manhood by that. Why would we measure our manhood by the validation we get from a woman? You know how absurd that sounds? You measure your manhood by the validation you get from a woman? That's absurd. I measure my manhood by the battle I did and the good work I do. I measure the manhood by what I feel about myself and who I am, the true me. The things I see in myself. That's how I measure my manhood. It could never come from a validation I get from a split V, a mushy hole. A hole is devoid of everything. But if you're measuring your manhood by the void of everything, a hole, and what you can do with it, you will be empty, the same as that hole. And that's what this is about. And that's what Mgtow is about. Saving kids and men and young men and even old men from the emptiness, the vast emptiness of sitting on a park bench and not wanting to go home and staring out at the void of everything in your life that you ever wanted to do. It's a black hole. Hence my name, Traversable Mgtow. I will traverse you through that. They're not going to like me. They're not going to like you. But that's okay. I don't want to be liked by those people. I'd rather be despised by them than be one of them. Because they got some silly ass beliefs. And we got a whole system that's based on a bunch of idiots with silly ass beliefs. It's absurd. And it shows. It shows in our economy, and it shows in the quality of living of humans. Yes. Once in a while I listen to Tom. But that's what I wanted to say today. Don't get sucked into that trap. That's a vortex with a black hole that sucks your soul right out of you. And at that moment where you look up and you don't want to go home no more, you don't go home. Find a new life. Because that's what it's telling you. That's what that feeling's saying. I got to go find a new life because this one sucks, and I'm not going to volunteer for that no more. And I wish I could reach out to every one of those guys with that empty look in their eyes and explain to them what they want and what that means and what it means to live. And it starts with becoming a rebel, a metaphysical rebel in our heads. I'm not going to do that. The best word I can figure out to say is no. No, no more. I'll become the rebel. I become my own God. Because obviously their God didn't show up, and he left me. And he left me naked. And he left me vacant. And he left me hurting. And that one didn't work, so I'll make myself God. You become the metaphysical rebel and see where that takes you. That's Invictus, the poem. You're staring out of those bars and you have nothing left. I could be free in my head. That's what he's saying. I could be free in my head. I have to start being the metaphysical rebel up there where I could be free, and it will come out in my life and I will start being free. I'll scream that out to the universe and take my freedom as a man. And I don't care if they want to give it, because they never gave any of it. I don't care the lies that they tell. I don't care if they hate me, and they will hate me, and they will hate you for being a Mgtow. It's not that we hate women or we hate blue pill people. It's just that they hate Mgtow because it gives men freedom. There's nothing more dangerous than a rebel with freedom that makes his own decisions. That's all I got to say today, man. I hope you're all having a great night. I'm going to get myself a cup of tea, some sleepy time tea. I'm going to take a pain pill or try to reduce the inflammation in my knees, and go see what Dougie's knocking over. He just knocked something over. And I hope you're all having a good night. I'm going to go take my blind death dog outside, give him a hug, and let him know there's something on this world that is real and true, and that's my love, and I care about him. And I hope you're all having a great night, and never fall for that trap. Never go back. Once you know what they say, once you go Mgtow, you can never go back. And thanks a lot for coming around, and thanks a lot, most of all, thanks for being a Mgtow. Mgtow.